How's that for timing? All right. Ladies and gentlemen, how are we doing this evening? Eric, Russell, good to see you guys in the chat already. You're always on time. I like it. Let's make today a relatively quick one, and I want to touch on CrossFit. Just did a CrossFit class, so I figured stuff it. It's an appropriate topic. Because CrossFit gets a lot of shit. And in part, reasonably, for very reasonable reasons, it gets a lot of shit. So, is my t-shirt see-through? Oh, look at this. Yeah, my this part of my shirt is see-through. That's pretty cool. Neat. I have a bullet hole in me, Eric. Straight through my heart. No. So, I want to give you guys a background as to, like, why CrossFit gets such a bad reputation, and rightfully so, I think, in a lot of instances, and how and where specifically I learned CrossFit, and why I think that's the model that I learned from. And I'll show you one particular gym in Australia where I learned the correct way, in my opinion, to sort of go about doing CrossFit. So, what most people think of when they hear CrossFit, it's like people getting thrown into doing all kinds of Olympic lifts and ridiculous gymnastics movements with basically zero training. And I have most definitely seen CrossFit gyms that are exactly like that. They will take Sammy, don't ever call a WOD a CrossFit class again, or you'll trigger CrossFit boys. Fair enough. So, a lot of these, like, smaller, less reputable, shall we say, CrossFit gyms will take, like, an average Joe off the street, run him through, like, one, maybe two, like, introductory classes, and then throw him into a WOD, right? A workout, which stands for workout of the day. And the problem with this is that because CrossFit is like a workout of the day for a CrossFit box, right? Is different every single day, and it's randomized, and they're trying to hit a bunch of different exercises, right? A lot of the time, there's a big variance in the skills that you need to develop in order to do CrossFit WODs correctly, right? Because one day you might be on, like, one day you might be doing basic, like, okay, you might do like a 1 kilometer run, and then you might do some stuff on a bike, on like a speed bike. You might do some rowing on a rowing machine. You also might do some squats, some deadlifts, some clean and presses, some clean and jerks, some snatches, like some kettlebell movements, two-handed kettlebell swings, one-handed kettlebell swings, one-handed kettlebell snatches, one-handed kettlebell clean and jerks. There's some quite, sometimes they throw in like handstand walks and things like this. There's some very complicated movements in a lot of regular CrossFit WODs, and nobody off the street is like, if you've never done, and even if you've never done like any kind of Olympic lifting or gymnastics before, or even if you've just been in regular gyms working out doing bicep curls and leg presses and stuff, you're not going to know how to execute these movements correctly. So there's two things there. One, you're not going to be able to get like the most efficient like bang for your buck in terms of movement, and then like energy expenditure, cardiovascular benefits, etc. But two, you're likely to cause some injury, and this is where CrossFit gets a bad reputation. Is because people fuck themselves up all the time. You can see plenty of videos on the internet of people stuffing themselves up with CrossFit by dropping the bar doing snatches, dropping the bar doing they're falling off the bar doing pull-ups and kipping pull-ups, and CrossFit gets a bad reputation for kipping pull-ups as well, which I think actually is quite warranted. I'd much rather do strict pull-ups than kipping pull-ups. So that's where they get it wrong, right? They throw people in with like 5 minutes of training to do really complicated Olympic lifts, and then they go too quickly They take these people who they're sort of people are keen to exercise and they're keen to lose weight and they're keen to get better and look like Rich Froning. So they do it really quickly, and then they're doing the movements incorrectly. They're doing them incorrectly, inefficiently, not getting the maximum output that they can of their body, and potential for injury exacerbates the moment they start to add weight. And when they and the other problem is that they tend to add weight too heavy. They tend to go too heavy too quickly, right? And you'll see this everywhere. Everywhere you go, you'll look at CrossFit WODs, and they'll have the workout of the day written out on the whiteboard or whatever, and they'll have the recommended weights for guys and girls of the various movements. So you might be doing, like today, for example, we did like 20 calorie on a bike, followed by 10 lateral barbell burpees, followed by snatches. You had to get that done in 4 minutes, and we did 5 rounds of that, right? But with the snatches, like, they got recommended weights for guys and girls in like 135 pounds and like 95 pound ranges for guys and girls, and it's like, no, like the average person isn't. That's like what it is for like on the official CrossFit website for people who are actually competing. But the average person ain't going to be able to do 135 pound, let alone a 95 pound snatch, without a lot of training consistently, and executing it well every time, right? So the problem with a lot of CrossFit boxes, they throw people in with very little training, and they make them go too quickly, and they make them go too heavy. Okay. So, how to do it properly? Here, I'm going to introduce you to a gym. This is, actually, let's go to the homepage. Cool. Share the screen. This is the gym where I learnt how to do CrossFit. It is called Range of Motion, and it is in Western Australia. So unfortunately, most of you will not get a chance to go here. However, there is a lot of resources. The reason I'm showing this is because these guys actually have a ton of resources on their website for people to actually learn how to execute movements like Olympic lifts properly, and how to build up to them. So, if we navigate through their website, this is their gym back in Western Australia. This is Dan here, this gentleman here. This is the guy who owns it and runs it. Fantastic guy. And they actually have some, well, at least when I was there, Helen Patterson, I think her name was. She won like the CrossFit Games in like the, I think it was like the 40, 50-year-old women's age bracket. And Dan was her one-on-one coach for the whole thing. So they know what they're fucking doing. And this guy's a fantastic coach. And here's the way they break it down. Okay. So the way these guys break down CrossFit is, well, here we go. This is a great way of this. They sum it up right here. So they have an individualized approach to exercise. They focus on one-on-one personal coaching, which is unheard of in like CrossFit boxes, right? And this is why these guys are really good. And I'll go over these in more detail. And they start very, very slowly. Trust me, extremely slowly. They draw from many different fields of exercise. Obviously, that's basically CrossFit. They prioritize movement quality. That is 100% their emphasis. And they focus on your weaknesses. So here's the way these guys break it down. Here's the way the range of motion works. There are no group classes. Well, not for WODs, not for workouts of the day, right? Like there are in other CrossFit boxes. What they do is you are only allowed to work with a coach one-on-one. So they have a staff of maybe like half a dozen coaches, and they have their availability throughout the day, and you schedule in your one-on-one sessions with them. So you have a one-on-one coach to start with. You walk in that gym. You are not allowed to pick up a barbell. You have to start with a broomstick or a plastic pipe, a plastic PVC pipe, which is the same length as a barbell. You're not allowed to pick up a barbell. What the coach will do is we'll ask you, okay, what are your goals? You know, for example, you might come into this CrossFit box and be like, my sport is what I did. So I was like, my sport is basketball, and I would like to improve, you know, my vertical leap. So the exercises that are associated, muscles and exercises that would be associated with improving my vertical leap. And I'd also like to improve my upper body strength because I want to get bigger. Cool. Basic place to start with, right? Someone else might have a completely different set of goals, but they'll tailor your. So the coach will hear that, and the coach will tailor your like routine, or your training program around your goals. Makes sense. So what they do is they'll start very, very slowly. You start with a broomstick, and say, for example, they'll run you through all the basic movements, Olympic lifts. So you go through your squat, your deadlift, your clean and press, clean and jerk, snatch. They'll move through the kettlebell stuff. They'll move through push-ups and sit-ups and pull-ups and dips. And then they'll move on to things on the rings. But this will take a couple of weeks of training, at least, with a broomstick, no barbell. So like one session with your coach one-on-one will be purely like 30 to 60 minutes of you learning like one, maybe two movements and drill it with a broomstick and drilling it down again and again and again and again until you execute it perfectly. And then and only then, after you've executed it perfectly, are you then allowed to touch a barbell with no weight on it. And then the process is repeated all over again. You are going to execute this, this squat, this deadlift pickup, the clean and jerk motion, the snatch motion, perfectly with just a barbell until we're allowing you to put some weight on there. And that's how they run their gym. So when it says down here, prioritize movement quality, that is exactly what they focus on. They look at, so they'll take you in the first few sessions. They'll figure out what your goals are, and they'll figure out where your weaknesses are. So where your obviously where your muscular weaknesses, your flexible and your flexibility weaknesses are, very important. And they'll be like, okay, well then that means we need to double down on these areas, and we don't have to focus as much on these other areas because you're already strong in them. And then again, drilling down on the technique. And only then, once you're executing things really, really perfectly, do they start slapping on a pair of 5-pound plates. Okay, now do it with 5-pound plates. All right, now we can move it up to 10 pounds, 20 pounds, and we can start to get an idea of exactly how strong you are in all these different movements. And they sort of figure out within the first couple of weeks, they sort of figure out your benchmarks. It's like, okay, here's his 1 rep max for his squat. Here's his 1 rep max for his deadlift. And then you have and they have an online database where you log all this information. So you and your coach both know where you started in terms of strength, your strength-wise, in terms of all the core movements. And then we build upon the program from there, right? So then they go and they break down. Let's take that away for 1 second. Then they go and they break down different skills. So it might be things like how to execute a pull-up properly, how to do a push-up properly with correct body mechanics. Then they might move on to things like skipping and doing double unders, and how to get better at doing the timing of doing a double under when you're skipping. And then they might move on to things like how to do a handstand walk or a handstand push-up properly. And that is like an entire lesson or two just to break down that one skill so that you can then eventually do a workout which would involve that particular movement. So they never throw people into anything they don't already know how to do. And they never throw them into anything with too much weight, and they never make them do it too fast. If anything, they'll add weight before they'll add speed. I remember like one of my first workouts with them, we were doing like sled pushes with heavy weight because that's not really a super technical movement. It's like, okay, grab onto the sled and just run as fast as I can with the damn thing back and forth across the room. But they were able to add weight to that without any real compromise on my range of motion anyway. And then the other aspect of this gym and why they're really good is they let's see if I can find it. They might even have it written somewhere in here. Oh, here it is. So this little thing at the back here, it's like this. Let's see if I can find it. Scroll right down here. I want to show you this. This. See this little. It's really hard to say. Just to the side of Dan's head here. This little chart on the wall here. What this thing is it's basically a breakdown of all the so they've meticulously broken down how to warm up and cool down, like the correct like flexibility and the correct warm up exercise and the correct warm down exercises to do depending upon what muscle groups you're working on that day. And that chart that you saw on the wall there is all broken down there. So basically your coach will give you a workout, right? Say for example, the coach is like, all right, today we're doing squats and we're doing pull-ups. All right, whatever. Let's just say that's the workout, all right? So then you'll go to this chart they have on the wall and you'll be like, all right, core movement, pull-up. All right, what's my warm-up process? Oh, it's shoulder rotations and then I don't know, maybe some band stuff. I'm just making this part up as I go along. But they have a prescription for what you warm up if that's in your exercise today, and then you'll do the same thing with the squats. Okay, then we do leg swings to warm up the hamstrings. We do this kind of static movement for warm up the quads or whatever. Then we do the workout, and then you go back to the board for the warm down exercises. And what this is all about is it's about two things. It's about injury prevention and gradually improving your flexibility and your range of motion, hence the name of the gym. I've never seen any other gym in the world that I've ever been to do it this well. It's so beautifully broken down. It is like perfect as far as I'm concerned. And I stacked on I put on a ton of weight, and I put like in a good weight when I was working out here, and I put on a ton of like my power lifts like drastically improved during like the 6 months I was training with these guys. Fantastic. But most CrossFit gyms aren't like this, unfortunately. So, and look, maybe there are gyms like this in America somewhere. I'm yet to find them. I haven't come across them. So if anyone ever comes across a gym that is like this, I highly recommend you stay there and get as much as you can out of it, because that's basically the perfect way to do CrossFit. Is starting off really slow, developing the skill base around all these different movements, incorporating correct warm-up and warm-down processes for injury prevention, so you're gradually improving over time. Doing it with a coach, so you've got someone critiquing your movement as you progress and add weight, right? And then and having the coach tailor the intensity for you as well, because that's what they would do. Because the whole thing will be done one-on-one with a coach. They're going to tailor the weight and the intensity, so they know when you're slacking off, and they know how much they can push you, because they've got their benchmarks. We know where your weaknesses are. We know what you're trying to work on. We know what your 1 rep maxes are for these various movements. We know you can execute on these various movements with good form. Now we start to ratchet up the intensity and see if you can maintain that form, because that's the real point of all this. The point of this kind of exercise is to get you to maintain form under pressure and under stress, right? Because that means that you have improved in your fitness, your strength, your skill set. Now, what CrossFit isn't good for? CrossFit isn't really good for hypertrophy. CrossFit isn't really good for making you look good naked, right? Well, these guys, however, do incorporate nutrition into their training program. So the coaches will also tell you, okay, here's the kind of diet you need to be following for your weight and your calorie intake and the exercise we're doing. So, and they follow basically a paleo style they prescribe a paleo style diet for their clients. Now, so that is covered, right? But unfortunately, I've seen, because you can go to any CrossFit box anywhere in the world, and you can find people who've been doing it for years, and they are flabby. Now, there's two reasons for that. One, either their diet is terrible, so they never fix their diet. They just increase they just work out a bunch and they increase their calorie intake. So maybe their cardiovascular system's fantastic, but they didn't lose any fat really doing it. So they still look kind of flabby. They don't have the Rich Froning body, right? And Rich Froning didn't get his body from CrossFit. Rich Froning was a baseball player in college. He had that body before he started doing, as far as I'm aware. Maybe he was a firefighter. He's one of the two. Maybe both. But he had that body before he started doing CrossFit. So CrossFit isn't really going to give you a fantastic body. Right? So let's dispel that myth right there. So why do I do it? I do it for the things that it is good for. And it is good for cardiovascular fitness and basically like a dynamic fitness, as in like getting your body used to, like training your body to be able to move with strength and efficiency in various different ways, and constantly testing your cardiovascular fitness and your muscular endurance, which is incredibly useful for my line of work. So I would strongly advocate that if you want to up your bedroom game, that CrossFit is actually something that you could start playing around with. But vet your CrossFit box first. If they throw you into shit way too quickly, way too much weight with bugger all training, probably find somewhere else to go. Or just get a one-on-one coach. You can do like the same kind of training one-on-one with a coach, you know. And you're gonna see, like, okay, let's say like a class is like of CrossFit, because CrossFit isn't exactly cheap, right? Let's say CrossFit is like $20 for a class. A personal trainer, like a one-on-one with one of the coaches at a box, is probably somewhere around $50 to $60 for like a one-on-one coaching session with that trainer. It's way more like the time for money, like what you're gonna get back for paying for the one-on-one coaching session is infinitely worth the investment, because they're going to be able to coach you through and correct you through, especially if you tell them to, like, get your form down perfect and progress at a level that is appropriate to you, right? So that's why I think this model is absolutely fantastic. And the other thing that a lot of CrossFit boxes do actually do kind of well is they do tend to run like powerlifting classes kind of on the side or as a part of the box in some way, and those are good. Like a powerlift, like the core powerlifts, like squats, deadlifts, bench presses, and probably even like military presses. If you work on those four, maybe like a row, but you kind of get the back with your deadlifts. But like, yeah, squats, deadlifts are the king, bench presses, and overhead presses. If you can work on those four powerlifts at a CrossFit box, because they do know how to, like, trainers at a CrossFit box do know how to teach people how to do these movements correctly, but it takes time and repetition to learn how to do it correctly. So if you have a CrossFit box near you, I'd recommend going there and doing the powerlifting stuff there, because then you can get a fundamental then you're going to get a better like training in these basic movements first, and develop some strength in them, some competence in them, so that then maybe you can jump into the workouts of the day, and if those movements come up, you can do them at a far lower weight and execute them with consistency under intensity. Right. So there we go. So, what were you guys talking about in the chat while I've been rambling this whole time? Yeah, CrossFit, you're right, Russell. CrossFit to me has always been one or two people who are good at it, with other 100 people struggling. You're kind of right there. Yeah. It is big in the military, though. You are correct. It is completely big in the military. Yes. Evening, Danny. Good to see you again. Yeah. Unfortunately, Colton, that is the reputation they have. And I'm not really a fan. Like, look, I'm not really a fan of that either. Like, to be perfectly honest, like you get far more benefit from doing a strict pull-up than you do from doing a kipping pull-up. At a certain point, it's more about like. I mean, yeah, it's kind of cool to learn how to actually do that movement, because it requires a bit of coordination. Okay, cool. It requires like full body coordination. But like strength-wise, improving your basic strict pull-up is infinitely more valuable. Yeah, so I completely agree with that. There we go. The CrossFit Olympics gives it a bad name. Yeah. The CrossFit Games is what it's called, Russell. Yeah. Greetings from Melbourne. You finally got to tune in for my streams. Walla Yalla. Well, greetings to you, sir. You might even get to if you might even get to catch tomorrow's stream, because I've got to stream very early tomorrow morning. Well, my tomorrow morning, LA time, because I'm flying to Miami tomorrow afternoon. I'm going to be spending a few days out there. Going to be catching up with Myron Gaines and Fresh Prince CEO. Going to be on their show on Thursday with my friend, the lovely Sarah J. So make sure you check out their channel on Thursday, because I'm going to be on it. Do those skipping pull-ups on that like button? Correct, Russell. Correct. Do the kip that like button. All right. Oops. There you go. Alrighty. Where we get to? Good question here. Why would you do? Why not drill on the barbell? Because you don't want to cause injury. That's why they start. They start with the broomstick. So they start with the broomstick so they can see where your mechanical flaws are in your body in terms of your flexibility. So, for example, with like a deadlift, are you tight in the hamstrings, and so your back, which causes your back to start curving, like hunching rather than keeping a straight back when you're doing a deadlift, right? That's why they start with a broomstick, so they can detect those flaws in your body mechanics first, and then correct them, and then you can start moving with the barbell. So that's why. Good question. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, cross right. Well done, Davina. Cross right, not cross wrong. Exactly. Yeah. All right. From personal experience, I used to use a stick for movement, pattern connections before warm-ups on the barbell exercises. Yeah, I mean, you can do the same thing. Yeah. Basically. Yeah, and this is kind of what I was getting at. This is the bad reputation they have. CrossFit practitioners you've come across focus on more reps no matter what the form, which is the problem. Like, it is really the problem. So if anyone who watches this stream wants to do CrossFit and get a CrossFit, I'd urge you to forget that, to try to resist the temptation to just go for reps. It's better to execute things properly with correct form, Exactly. Yes. The one other thing I wanted to show you guys in here was on this website here. They have. Let me add it back on there. Here we go. Add it back to the stream. On here, if you go to this website, okay, it's rangeofmotion.net.au. That's the website. And if you go right up to the top here, let's go back to the home page. Oh, I'm zoomed in. That's why we can't see stuff. If you go to the resources section here, they have these first two little items here: range of motion movement library and range of motion movement therapy. So these are the two things I was talking about. So when I mentioned before, they have this chart on the wall that you do of warm-up exercises and warm-down exercises. So first of all, they have this is a fantastic resource for anyone. And you can do this yourself, even if you have, like, no matter which gym you go to. So you can absolutely use this as a resource. So, for example, let's look at... so there's all these different drills you can do for posterior chain development, powerlifting, barbell stuff, plyometrics, kettlebells. So let's find one. Let's have a quick look at one. So Olympic lifting. How to do the clean. Cool. And he breaks down the criteria for this particular movement. And that's Dan's brother. And he gives you a very brief video breakdown of it. which I believe just caused my entire computer to shut down. I don't know if that even played because my computer just froze when I did that. And it looks like it's not liking that. But let's add that back again because I want to show you their movement therapy stuff. Because this is the nuts. Let's stop sharing that window for a second and then share it again because it looks like it went blurry. Yes, the therapy stuff. So, pull up and hang. Here we go. So this talks about basically all the different faults in various movements, all right, and all the possibilities of correcting it. Yeah, here's the wrong way, here's the right way. What's the fault? Possible tight scapulars, possible weakness, correct mobility, complete these release drills. And then there's a drill here, upper trap bar release, and then a few different mobility drills. So you can actually self-assess in a way. So you can record yourself, you can use this as a resource. You can record yourself doing a particular movement, assess it, use the resource on their website, and then do the mobility, the before and after mobility drills, and incorporate that into whatever workout you're already doing. These guys, this, I'm telling you, this gym, Range of Motion in Perth in Western Australia, is beyond amazing. They do it completely differently to any other CrossFit box I have ever seen in my entire life. So there you go. Yes, yeah, you can, man. You can do a form of CrossFit using your own body weight. You can do like they have what they call like they have the thing that these workouts called the benchmark WODs, which are a bunch of different kind of they're workouts which a lot of them only involve like push-ups, sit-ups, box jumps, that kind of stuff. So you can do them anywhere. You can do them in your home, in a park, whatever you want. They tell you like how many rounds you need to do them, and then you sort of figure out how long it took you to do that exercise, and that's kind of like it gives you an idea of your relative fitness as you progress, and you can test that every like 3 to 6 months or so. Yeah. Where'd we get to? Don't know who just it is. It doesn't. I wouldn't say it beats at the body. Why am I on the moon? I'm always on the moon, Tom Bombadil. Good to see you, mate. Haven't seen you in ages. Tristan Tate was talking about doing yoga for his shoulder rehab. Russell, that's what he was talking about. Calisthenics. Yeah, I mean, powerlifting is probably good. Yeah, if you can, like, who was it? I think that's what you're talking about, Wally Yella. Good stuff if you plan to transition into bodybuilding. Like, I assume you're talking about the powerlifting side of things. Because who was it? Ronnie Coleman, former Mr. Olympia. He was like a powerlifter for a long time before he got into bodybuilding. So he had like a foundation of being able to lift incredibly heavy amounts of weight. And that's why he's stacked on gigantic amounts of muscle. Yes. But yeah, like what you're saying, Daddy, you won't cast shade on CrossFit. You never tried it. I'd be willing to give it a try, providing I got one-on-one. Do it, like I said, do it. If you're gonna get into it, get some basic one-on-one training with somebody and establish a foundation first, because there are benefits to it. But like I said, this is not what you're doing. You're not doing this to look jacked. That's not what it's for. It's about developing good cardiovascular fitness. And if you do it right, you're not gonna beat up your body, Tom Bombadil. So maybe rewind this about 20 minutes, Tom, and you'll get what I was talking about. All right. Yeah. You want all the gyms to open up in Victoria? Oh boy, everyone wants the gyms to open up everywhere. All right, guys, we're gonna keep this as a short one, and we'll have another one for you early tomorrow morning, LA time, prior to my flight out to Miami. All right, so I'll catch you guys later. Enjoy your night, and peace out.